Business Focus with Kudzie, Sharara on the Champions League Breakfast.
Good morning and welcome to Business Focus. As always, we have Kudzie, Sharara to help us understand what's happening in the world of business. You have questions, we're waiting up for them on 0719 100404. That is our WhatsApp platform. Good morning, Kudzie. How are you?
Good morning, Tinashe. Good morning, everyone.
Great. We spoke about it the other day, but we didn't touch on it. And briefly for today, just to finish up on that, let's. What's the latest on Starlink?
Thank you, Tinashe. So finally, from the authorities, remember that we just heard that Starlink is live in Zimbabwe, but there was no word from the authorities, official communication to say they are really licensed. Because sometimes you notice that on social media, and then so now finally, Potras has released a statement. So Potras is the regulator for the telecoms sector, and they have now released a statement saying that they've issued 2 licenses to Starlink Zimbabwe, namely the telecommunication license for network services as well as the internet service provider, which is the national license. So now it's official. Starlink is licensed in Zimbabwe, and also Potras has said the sale or distribution of Starlink user terminals without appropriate licensing and clearance is also a punishable offense by law. What they are trying to say is that they are dealers, so there are going to be some agencies, dealers, and ISPs that shall be that will get licensed, Starlink licenses, but will get clearance from Potras. Kuti Tinashe achanga achitengesa distribute approved, yes. So if you then kuna unanga achitotengesa kudhara, so that's illegal, so it will be punishable by law. And also I understand that they paid in terms to get those licenses, they paid 507. So for the first one, which is the network service license, they paid $525,000 US dollars, and then for the ISP national license, they paid $50,000. And you compare it with telecoms. Telecoms, to get a 20-year license, like telecoms we are talking about, Teleso Network, Econet, yes, they pay 137 million US dollars for 20 years. And these guys are coming in and they are paying just less than $1 million for 20 years as well. So of course there are different investments, and yes, there are different services, but you can actually see the investment.
Potras has issued
Potras has issued 2 licenses to Starlink Zimbabwe.
Okay. Starlink ndakambobvunza futi nezuro inenge ichifona here macalls
no
ndechi kana 2 licenses ari kunzi chi
imwe iri kunzi ndeye the telecommunication license for network services.
Okay.
Network providing of network, and then imwe yacho ndeye internet services provider. Maybe unonga kutoda Dr. Majengete kuti wakuzoti what is the difference between the two, but you can also, I know there are some people who are experts in that field. They can also tell us what is the difference between these 2 licenses. So you can even see there with just the investment that you need to get into these spaces, and then because sometimes we then tend to compare my prices aneze ngakuchajwa nemunwe. Imagine munwe abvisa 137 million for 20 years, munwe arongobvisa chi 500,000.
So that 130 million, it's a once off or
20 years, for 20 years.
Unenge chibhadhara every year?
No, you pay 137 million kawan, unless waita ma payment terms. Pamwe vakabvuma kuita ma payment terms,
on a yearly
yes,
basis.
Yes, don't give up, but you need to pay that 137. So that's an investment.
Yeah, it is.
Someone arikuya futi oisa ari ma base stations. Someone arikuya auto isa iri fiber achidriga ma trenches across the country. Investment. Saka ma price antozongosiyana. But anyway, today we do not dwell much on
on that issue. I don't know how far true it is. I've seen it on social media, and the Kwane statutory instrument to do with slow network It's punishable, what?
Yes, Potras, it was released, a statutory instrument that was released, I think, on Friday, where slow, internet, it is slow, all those things. Panama reports avanofana kupa, anoratidza downtime ya internet, and they are now fines. I think it's about $5,000 US, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know for what period or for good offense. I can't tell offhand what exactly it entails, but panentemo that is meant to make sure that the services that we are given by network providers are efficient and effective. Kwete tinobhadhara mwedzi unopera unoziva data rakazara and you're not opening anything, those things. So they are now compelled to do so, which means that they need to really invest into their network. Kana paine pamwe pavangochimboti no vanhu vachicomplaina kuti kwakati hatisikuwana network chichichichi ezvinezvi vanenge vakutomhanya kuenda ikoko faster because report rinozobuda manje rinoita kuti upiwe mafaini akawanda. So that's an interesting one, which is good for the consumer, I think, because we all want to be, we are in a digital era.
We need to enjoy
the service. Yes, exactly. So that's
all right. So enough about that, Kudzie. Let's look at what's the latest on the capital markets.
On the capital markets, Tinashe, there's a new instrument that has been brought to the market. It's said to be, in fact, the Securities and Exchange Commission has approved what is known as a fixed income investment fund, which will be run by it will be listed on FinSec, which is the Financial Securities Exchange. Tine exchanges akawanda muno, tine Zimbabwe Stock Exchange, tine Victoria Falls Stock Exchange, tine imwe an alternative trading platform inonzi iyo zvakare FinSec, Financial Securities Exchange. This is where this fixed income fund is going to list. Kana chiti fixed income fund, tunoreva kuti fund inenge yakatogara mafunds aya kuti ukaita invest in them, uchitongo investor, you are told kuti panopera gore, what is your interest? And it's fixed. It's 10%. It doesn't matter kuti fund yacho kwaika investor mari kuri kuperforma sei, that doesn't concern you. You chakongoza kuti if I invest in this fund, I'm going to get a 10%. Like in this one, they're saying it will be a minimum 12% to a maximum of 18%. So it's actually a flexible one where I'm guaranteed kuti kupera kwegore I'll get 12%. But ndogona kutowanda kusvika kuma 18%. So this is what we want in our capital markets, the development and deepening of our capital markets, to have a diversified portfolio of investment instruments that you can put your money into. Sometimes when you look at my investments, Tinashe, even my shares, they're a little bit riskier for some people because aina guarantee kuti panopera gore $100 yako inenge yabereka here kana kuti inenge isina, inogona kunge isina kubereka, inogona kunge ichiri $100 or inogona kunge value yatodzika kuenda $60. So there is a risk in for example in the stock market. But with a fixed income investment instrument, the risk is very, very minimal, close to sometimes such instruments anotonzoma risk-free instruments. They've got no risk. So it's interesting that the Securities and Exchange Commission has approved the listing of this, the SmartVest High Income Fund on the Financial Securities Exchange. So it is a good development for our capital markets. I think for those who want to invest their dollars and they are risk averse when investing on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange, on the Victoria Falls Stock Exchange, so they want to invest their US dollars. This is an instrument. And what is also interesting about this one, Tinashe, my small to medium enterprises, they struggle to get long-term capital, and they normally get their loans from microfinance institutions. So this particular fund is targeted for the SMEs that want to get long-term financing. So again, I think it's a good instrument that will also broaden financial inclusion within our market. So kudos to Lincoln Capital and SmartVest Wealth managers who are coming up with this fund.
There's a question that says, what is the official rate I think it's to do with the exchange rate.
Yes.
What is the official rate? And can we put the 10% margin? What is the alternative rate? Why a huge gap between the two?
Okay, so there is no akusisina, like I said the other day, akusisina chinonzi official rate, but there is a rate that is prevailing on the interbank market. Yes, from what I heard from the authorities, akuna chinonzi dio official rate, because official rate, it means kuti inenge yatosetwa ne reserve bank kuti rate riri pakati. But in this case, they are saying kuti susu,
it's not.
We are just saying kuti bank rakati ranga chitrade pakati, total average tovataita rate, and that average, which is displayed on the RBZ website every day, is at 13.9477. That's the official rate. However, pane mubvunzo wasovhunzwa tinobvumidzwa reka 10% margin. Zvinonzi izvo hakusisina zvokuti 10% margin wati zvakabviswa, but businesses are allowed to say, because kana chiti 13.9477 is the average. However, people are trading between that 13.59 as the bid rate, and the ask rate is 14.29. So you're allowed to, you cannot trade at 14 point something, and let's say 14.7. You're allowed to also use that rate, 14.7. It doesn't matter. Display as the average is at 13.9477. If you buy foreign currency from your bank, yes, you are an Anglican. But those who are allowed to put a margin, and margin, my banks purchase raw, and when they buy foreign currency, let's say from the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, because it's also selling foreign currency, they are allowed to put a 5% on top.
So the rate is market driven.
I can't answer. The authorities say it is market driven. The market says that it's not market driven. Why? Because when there is increased demand, the rate is not moving in line with the increased demand. Because Canary demand and supply, markets, like for example, kwandinyazoziya ku stock market, mashares kana ari mashoma, vari kutenga vakawanda, share price rinokwira faster.
Okay.
But mangwana rinogona kunge vari kutengesa varivo vawanda than vari kutenga, and then rinodzikawo futi share price. That's why up and down. But this is what we are not. And if you look at the South African rand, every day, in fact, the whole day rinenge tichinja, unogona kumuka nhasi riri pa 18 point something, wozona ranguma 17 point something maskati, richingodaro every minute because of trading, which is something that we don't see with our own ZIG. Authorities then say, I remember having a conversation with Dr. Mshayabano, and he says, why should someone pay 17 when our ZIG is backed by gold, and gold, according to the value calculations, 13 point something, so why pay a 17? But for me, I will pay 17. Why? Because per 13 point something pacho ndashaya. You understand? Ndikushaya, ndikuirida, but ndikuenda bank rangu ronditi, uruda 50,000, we can only give you 2,000. I should be allowed to say, guys, all right, munokwanisa ngonipa 2,000. Ini ndada utenga yese iri mubank mune 50,000 yamuinayo, but you have got my customers akawanda. But inini, because of my situation, mari yangu ikwane, so I'm going to pay more for my money. Anditi ndotengeserwa kana kuchizoya imwe yauya vamwe vozosara vachitengeserwa nelow price. Ini ndindatsva mangwana, when I go back to the bank, I'm clever and I know kuti paipe ndakazoita dzungu ndikatenga ndikakurumbidza kubhadhara mari yakawanda, vamwe vakazosara vachitengeserwa nechipa price. Also, it encourages those who holders of foreign currency to then also come in and say, I can also sell at 16, I can sell at 15, I can sell at 13. It's up to me. I should be allowed to go to my bank and say, ndine foreign currency, ndine $100 yangu iyi yandatumirwa from the diaspora. I want to sell it at 17. And the bank should just tell its clients, pane $100 yapinda iri kutengeswa at 17. And it's up to the clients vari kuda foreign currency kuti ndipe hangu inini 17 iyoyo handiti ukaenda izvozvi the way we trade stock market ukaenda stock market ichingovhura panenge paine mabids mumwe ari kuti ndiri kutenga delta lese delta mumwe ari kuti ndiri kutenga delta 2 cents mumwe ari kuti 3 cents mumwe ari kuti 5 cents mumwe ari kuti 8 cent handiti kubva kwaita the other side kune masellers mumwe ari kuti ari kutengesa 3 mumwe ari kuti 5 mumwe ari kuti 6 it's up now for kuti madeals ameche ipapapo atsva mumwe anototengawo pari kudhura mumwe achitenga pasi that's how a market should work so I don't think that's how the exchange the interbank market is operated.
Okay, just about 3 minutes, Kudzie. Let's jump quickly into still with banking. Let's look at the highlights of the CBZ latest results.
Yeah, so CBZ came out with its results this week. I would want to look at it. Should I look at the group? Maybe I should look at the bank, and maybe we talk about the group some other time. But just as a bank, just to look at where is it getting its money, where is it making its money as a bank. So it shows here that we've been talking about my banks are chingo accused my banks are kuita mari from other fees and commissions and transaction charges and not necessarily on lending. So we want to see the EOCBZ as a bank, where is it making its money. So net interest income, which is money that they earn from lending, loans and advances and other interest earning assets. They made about 511 billion. Is it billion or it's so and then on net fee and commission income they made 462. So you see this particular bank CBZ has made more money via lending, which is the core business of banking. Well, maybe the one not it's traditional mabenga mfaneta mari ne loans and advances is traditional, but in this case since banks have been accused of making more money through transaction charges the CBZ seems to be making more of their money from net interest income, and then obviously net fee and commission also coming in there. And however, in terms of they managed to grow their profitability as a CBZ bank, not the group. We'll talk about the group later. But as a bank, the bank is profitable. They made about 991 versus 550.
Sorry to come in. Pawati Mimi, the bank made more money through lending. Is that so?
In a way, you could say that, but then you also have to look at kuti pamaria vainayo as my deposits. Yakawanda say yavalenda because abanangokupa ama absolute figures, but they don't tell you the full story. You will find out kuti I didn't do the loan to deposit ratio for CBZ in this case. However, you find kuti most banks on average in Zimbabwe they are lending about $50 of every $100 that they have, and yet internationally or in other markets banks would lend above some as high as 80% of every dollar that they have in deposits. They will lend about 80%. Some will go as far as high as 90%. But our banks here in Zimbabwe, they are only lending about 40 to 50% of the money that they get from deposits, which is very low. It's a low loan to deposit ratio. They are cautious. Some of them are blaming it on cautious. They are very cautious. They don't want to end up with Zamco. Remember those non-performing loans.
Saga, just to close off, because the time in Yakwan. Overally, according to the CBZ results on the banking side, fire.
Yeah, I think they are doing well, and recently they got about 115 million to lend as well. So from outside the country. Okay. So it seems they are doing well as a
all right.
bank. Yeah.
Thanks so much to you, Kudzie, for Business Focus for today. We discuss more. We have to be on standby for the news at 8.